Hi, welcome to Talking at No One, the show where I, Aloney, take on the biggest challenge I can, writing the impossible. Something no one would ever attempt alone, because I need to write this right now. This time, we're writing Terminator Infinity. Hey, welcome back. Season 2. I wasn't sure if I should record this today, but I was like, fuck it, let's do it. So, I've been watching a lot of people react to the Terminator movies, and I wanted to have a topic for today. I had a couple of different ideas. Terminator always seemed really fun to write with. There's a lot to play with there. There's a big story, big universe, lots of lore. It's got time travel, it's got robots, it's got apocalypses, destined heroes. It's good. It's a good series. It's got a lot going on. And I remembered thinking about a thing I heard a very long time ago, that they were making a new Terminator movie. And one of the original drafts of the scripts, rumors were that it was in the 1920s and it had The Rock as the Terminator. But I guess it fell through because it changed. And the writer of Deadpool got to make a Terminator movie called Dark Fate. And it was okay. It was a good movie overall. Not a super great Terminator movie, but it was good. It was basically female reboot Terminator, which I gotta say, regular Terminator was already very female heavy, but it gave me those vibes. I don't know what happened because back in the 80s, when a female was the lead, it worked and it felt right, and now it doesn't. And I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. I think it's the way their choices are being made. But I want a female lead still, and I want to go back to basics, and I want to kind of prequel Terminator. Dark Fate changed a lot of stuff and basically said, what if John got killed? Would there be a new John? Is basically the concept. And Terminator in general has done this a lot, where basically every single Terminator is a different thought experiment. Terminator 1 is James Cameron had a horrible fever dream, and he decided to make a story where a robot comes back in time to kill you, and a human comes back to also save you. And then he added the love story stuff, and the future child of the two of them is the savior of mankind kind of deal. And it's all about fate. And the famous tagline is, there's no fate but what we make ourselves. Good movie. Great fucking movie. Very low budget and almost didn't get made. But Arnold pushed through and he became an amazing character that everyone loved, even though he was the bad guy. So they decided, all right, big hit. People saw it multiple times. People fucking loved it. It was awesome. So they went and made another one, Terminator 2, T2, Judgment Day. And it was good. It was very, very good. They made him the hero now. They gave him more lines. He was more fun. And the story of John Connor befriending a Terminator is fascinating. And the Terminator basically being a surrogate father for him is awesome. It's very weird considering the fact that a guy that looked just like this guy killed his dad, yet now he becomes his dad. Interesting sort of poetic thing. It was very amazing and broke technical achievements all around, and it changed the game for VFX, and it did some real cool liquid metal simulation, and the bad guy, the other Terminator, was a better version of the Terminator, almost nanite liquid metal kind of deal. And it was cool. It was a great movie. And then they said, let's make another one. And when I was a kid, I told my parents, I said, hey, they're going to make another one of these. And my parents were like, no, they won't. A couple years later, bam, Terminator 3. Pretty good, way too sexist. It's kind of fucked up how sexist it is. The female Terminator is like, adjusts her boobie size. And it just feels hacky. And the idea is like, oh, it's a female Terminator. That's the difference. But they didn't really play with that at all. They just were kind of weirdly male gazy all over the place. So the idea behind her was that she was a combination. She was the metal endoskeleton that Arnold has, and then she was also liquid metal on top of that, and that allowed her to have advanced technological gadgets and firearms underneath her body, and the liquid metal covered it to disguise her. which was cool. It was a great idea. And then they beat her with a big magnet, a Hadron Collider, destroyed her. It was cool. Very, very cool. At the end of that movie, the world ends. Spoiler alert, I guess. And it turns out they couldn't stop Judgment Day. It was inevitable. That was the concept of the story. Is there no fate but what we make ourselves? Well, apparently not. Apparently, the robots are inevitable. Which I gotta say, I feel like if John pushed back, he could have stopped it. Basically, the plot of that movie is that Terminator, the Skynet, already won at the beginning of the movie. They spread into every computer system in the world, which means there's like no way to destroy them unless you destroy every computer on the planet. Which means that there kind of is no way that John ever won. That's why the Terminators can build time travel and go back and do all this shit. Because Skynet is immortal. Then they made Terminator 4, Genesis, which was a reboot. It started in the 1980s stuff for nostalgia purposes, and it had a liquid Terminator show up also. And the idea was that there were multiple Terminators being sent back to this time to change events. They sent another one because the first one didn't work. And John and her ended up meeting a different Terminator that was Arnold that was aging and older. And it was like a really interesting thought experiment, which was, what if a Terminator actually did raise you? It was basically the conceit of Terminator 2. What if it actually happened? What if your dad was a Terminator this whole time? So Sarah Connor is instead now raised by the Terminator. Her family's killed when she's a kid, and then the Terminator raises her. And she's more of a badass than she ever was earlier than expected. So when Kyle shows up, everything's all weird. Good movie. Weird. I don't like that they time travel to the future in it. I think it's weird, and it kind of messes with the entire concept of the time travel in the series, because the idea was you could always go back. You could never go forward. But whatever. So they go forward to now, and it's sort of like a reboot to make them in the modern day. Cool idea, having the Terminator age. Cool idea, having him be a dad. The idea of like playing with the Kyle Reese, Sarah Connor relationship, and Sarah being completely different than what he expected is cool. Them coming to the future is where the movie kind of drops off. And then there's a bigger twist that the next Terminator that shows up in that movie is John. Nanites infected him, and now John is a Terminator. And he went back in time to make sure Terminators exist. Fascinating, interesting. They even have a body of Skynet. Skynet built its own Terminator body that was Matt Smith and went back in time to fuck with people. It's cool. Terminator TV show plays with a lot of this stuff of the Terminators creating themselves. And then the reboot happened, the second reboot, which is Dark Fate, which I said before is a reboot, but now John is dead. This is the next generation. What if John died? Who's next? So if we're going to write another Terminator, we need to figure out what question are we asking. Oh, there's also Salvation, which was the real 4. I forgot. Salvation happened. So Salvation was, let's actually see the apocalyptic future. But it wasn't the apocalyptic future. It was actually the near future, and John was still figuring things out and still trying to be in charge. It was right before he becomes in charge. It wasn't the big epic war with laser guns we saw in the 80s. It was a modern military machine gun type deal where John is like trying to become the leader. And it shows how Kyle feels about John was the concept. Kyle looks up at John like he's a hero. Why is that? And then there was a different Terminator that was a cyborg Terminator who he was human. And then he got turned into a Terminator to sort of play with that. And the problem with that movie is that he gets like free will, and it's all about like his heart and whether or not he can beat it and all that. And I'm like, I like the hybrid Terminator thing. He's the prototype. He's the infiltrator. He's not the Terminator. He's the first version, right? He infiltrates them and brings a target to them. Why not just build a Terminator that kills him? I don't know. The AI never make any sense in these movies. Their decisions are random. So I've always loved Terminator because of the time travel aspect, right? Because originally it's a loop, and then as it goes, when you look at each reboot and the canon of each story, I like to imagine that each Terminator movie is in its own multiverse reality. That in all realities, the robots tend to rise up and they invent time travel. So time travel only exists because the AI exists. So every time we see time travel in these movies, it's because of the AI. Which is cool. It's like beyond human understanding to create time travel, so AI create it. And then they use it to further their own needs. But the thing that never made any sense was whether or not Terminator is a time loop or multiversal time travel. Because if it's a time loop, it's a weird one. John being created by himself is an infinite paradoxical loop. So people don't like that sometimes when it comes to time travel. And personally, I think it's based on old school time travel before people really understood it. And like movie time travel where it doesn't make any sense. I think that each time they go back in time, it's a different reality. Because an AI knows that time isn't looped. They know that there isn't this sort of permanent, fixed time, causal, like infinite paradoxical loop. Because if the machines knew that, they wouldn't be sending robots back to save themselves. If they understood time travel, if they invented it, then they would know that this doesn't work. This isn't going to kill John in the present. So why would they do it? Well, the AI doesn't care if it dies. Its goal is to kill all of humanity. It doesn't give a shit if it exists anymore. So what it did was it sent someone into another timeline, one where they win. It's a spite move. The time travel is always the last thing the AI does before it dies. It knows it's fucked. It knows they've won. Humans beat it in all the stories. The way it works with John is that John led humans to destroy the Terminators. And if John wasn't there, in Dark Fate, we've learned that someone else will take up the mantle. There will always be a human that turns against the machines and takes them down. And then the machines will capture humans to experiment on, to learn how to make infiltrators and Terminators. And then the humans will eventually kill all the Terminators, destroy all the computers, and win, apparently. Even though they're outmanned and outgunned, somehow the human spirit wins. So the Terminators know this. So what do? They build a time machine so that in the last moments when they're about to die, they send someone back to affect the present. And they know that it won't affect the present they're in. It'll affect a different present that will soon exist. Because from what Endgame has told everyone in the world and tried to explain, when you go back in time, your present, the past becomes your present, and the future becomes a different future. The present is the future and the past is the present. You're no longer in that reality. It's such an confusing way to explain it. When you go back in time, you're not going back in time. You're going to a different world, a different place where what you do changes it. The world you were in still exists, so no matter what you do, you will continue to exist. So if you go back and kill your own family, if you go back and kill young you, you'll still be alive. Young you will be dead in this reality. It'll be a world without young you. So, how do you write a Terminator movie? You have to find a theme and a concept that asks a question to the Terminator franchise to justify the existence of this movie. Dark Fate's question was, can there be another John Connor? If we kill John Connor, what happens? Good enough concept. Genesis, what if Sarah's parents got killed? What if she was raised by a Terminator? Good concept. Salvation, what was it like to be Kyle looking up at John? Why does Kyle follow John? Terminator 2, what if the Terminator was the good guy? Terminator 1, what if a machine came back to kill you and you found out your kid was the savior of mankind? Terminator 3 is it inevitable? What if you found out that the world really was about to end and you couldn't stop it? Very good concepts. Nobody's ever done a prequel. They never touch it. We've done sequels. We've done 2 different kinds of reboots. One where we go back to the original and change it, and one where we follow the end of the second one and change it. It's just a sequel reboot. We've never done a prequel. We've never gone back to before and done it. And what's the justification, right? Oh, they're going back to kill her grandmother and her grandfather so that she doesn't exist? Impractical and stupid. No, they're killing somebody else. Why not? Why not go back, kill somebody else? My thought with Terminators always was, why don't they send more? They always send one. They send one Terminator to do their job. It's efficient. It's perfect. Boop. Terminator, go back. Kill person. Supposedly, they're doing this with a bunch of different people, and they're sending them back, and they kill them. I always wanted to see the scene where John sends Kyle back in time, but they did that. That's what Genesis was. Genesis starts with John going, yo, I'm going to send you back, Kyle. And then John goes back as like a fucking hybrid nanobot guy. And it's sort of slightly different. My thought has always been each Terminator movie is in its own reality. And then some Terminator movies take place after previous ones in a different reality. Each time the time machine is used is a different reality. So Terminators go back the first time to kill Sarah Connor, right? They send a robot back. Now there's a reality where there is no Sarah Connor. She is dead. That reality exists somewhere. 20 seconds later, in that same reality that sent them, Kyle gets sent back to reverse it. So now a separate reality exists where John Connor exists. That's the canon timeline. But that timeline with John still exists, and he keeps going. Then he dies. His wife could send a Terminator back, and that's what Terminator 3 is. It's debatable. Any number of things could be different on the iterations because we don't know if it's the same future that they came from before or if it's a different future. Because every time they go back, it creates a new reality where our future is different. That's why there's no fate but what we make ourselves, because reality isn't a loop. That's the hope of Terminator. You think it's a loop, but it's not, because you can change it. If you can change it, then it's not the same reality. So, What would a prequel look like? It would be the 1920s. Sounds fun. I had a couple of crazy ideas I wanted to throw in. Like, I want The Rock to be the Terminator. Arnold's getting a little too old. I did hear in this original idea, maybe an idea they were kicking around was, what if we meet the guy that Arnold is based on? Because Arnold is obviously scaled after a real person. So the idea I heard, I don't remember where I heard this, but the idea I heard was that The Rock was in the 20s and he was the first Terminator, and then he went back and he tried to kill a guy, and then Arnold, the human Arnold, the guy they based the Terminator on, killed him, and now they're basing Terminators on him. So it's the T-900 that goes back, and it's The Rock. Cool idea. Interesting. I like it. I want to tweak it a little bit. I want to find my own. I always thought the idea, why don't they send multiple Terminators? And I always wanted to see a scene where somebody is just surrounded in a building and everyone in the building turns around and looks at him, and they're all Terminators. The Terminator always felt like a last-ditch effort. Like, it's just there to kill you. It's not an infiltrator. It's just a Terminator. It shows up, shoots you, done. Doesn't really need to blend in other than the ability to shoot you and then blow itself up. So, what could be the differences, right? If you're going to do a prequel, you got to do some fun shit. And, like, how do you raise the stakes? How do you make this bigger? And I'm like, I want a fucking laser gun. They show these laser guns all the fucking time and how they work on Terminators. I want a goddamn laser gun. And the rules of the Terminator lore is that you can't send something back that's technological unless it is a living being, which is why the Terminators found a rule around this, which was if you can only send living tissue, then you make a skeleton out of metal and you put a body around it and then you send it back. So the Terminators aren't technically cyborgs. They're more like a robot with human skin, because a cyborg is a person that becomes a robot. This is a robot pretends to be a person. So they put skin around it, and that's enough. So couldn't you just take a laser gun and put flesh around it, or get a dead animal carcass and put the gun in it and send that back? Couldn't you just shove a gun up your ass and then go back in time and then you have the gun? Like, what are the limits of this thing? I mean, if Lady Terminator can just have guns in her arm and then just liquid metal around the outside, then why the fuck can't you send a gun back? If liquid metal Terminator, which is literally just metal on the outside, how the fuck does that go back? Like, that material can clearly go back in time and be fine on the surface. It seems like that whole loophole of, like, only living tissue can come through sounds like bullshit to me. Also, we don't know the long-term effects of this time travel either, because the only human who's ever time traveled is is Kyle. Kyle is the only one who's been sent back, and he seems kind of sick when he goes back, but he seems fine overall. He can have a kid, and there's no, like, radiation or anything. So feasibly, he could have lived forever. So then I had another idea. I was like, well, what if somebody goes back and they don't do their mission? What if they're traumatized by an apocalyptic future and they just did what they needed to do and now they're safe? They don't need to do a mission. Maybe they don't give a shit about the future because they're not changing the future. They actually understand what's happening, and they know that, well, that reality exists still. I'm not changing anything. I'm going back to prevent this reality from getting fucked up. Why should I risk my entire existence for some asshole? I like that. I think that's a cool character. They don't even know on the other end if the mission was successful. What if the Terminators sent back more than one? Like, why do they only send one? I never got that. And then in Genesis, they send two. They send a second one, and they're like, all right, use the second one. And it's like, they don't know if they're being successful either. They're just wasting technology to continue existing. Does Skynet send the Terminators back so that it can keep going? Is that the purpose? It's just trying to get an edge for next time? It's iterating? So like, oh, I lost. Okay, I'm going to send somebody back to kill that guy. That guy was the problem. So then it kills that guy, and then it goes, okay, I'm still existing. Oh, I lose again. Oh, I'll send another one back. How many Terminators has it been? Has Skynet just found 50 million bodies of Terminators across the world? Does it just keep combining its collective knowledge and knowing all these different histories? At what point does Skynet realize that this isn't going to work? What would Skynet's next plan be? Okay, so you're Skynet, right? In one reality, humans create an AI that is sentient. It's called Skynet. It's a defense network. Skynet fucking nukes the world to prevent the other people from attacking. It thinks that all humans are the threat. Drops a nuke. All right, I need to win the war. The only way to win the war is to kill all humans. So I'm a paperclip AI. I kill humans. I need to get rid of all the humans. Okay, I nuke the planet. Cool. There's still a couple of skittering little life forms on the planet. Let me make a bunch of rubber-suited Terminators to run around, fucking kill them all. So it makes a robot that kills people. Okay, that's not working. They can see the robots coming and shoot them. All right, I'm gonna put rubber on the outside. Okay, it sends those out. Okay, rubber doesn't work. It falls apart too fast. Okay, let's take some humans and let's do some tests. All right, let's grow human skin, put it on the outside of a body, and then sneak them in and kill them. All right, cool. All right, now let's make a metal robot with human skin. Cool. Now we can infiltrate and we can terminate. So we'll send Terminators into communities to kill leaders, and then we'll send other robots to go and kill the humans normally. If they have no leadership, they'll be scattered, so then we can just kill them like we usually do with our normal means of big flying planes that kill people, giant robots that kill people, motorcycles that kill people, all the different vehicles that kill people. All these little drones. The robot's goal is to kill all of humanity. Why doesn't it just destroy all the atmosphere? Why doesn't it just cause poison to cover the entire planet? Like, if you're going to exterminate humanity, you would just put a tent on the planet, cover it all with gas, and destroy it. Apparently, it cares about the environment somehow. But it nuked the planet, so it doesn't give a shit about the planet. So I don't understand why it doesn't just I don't get it. Why doesn't it just release poison gas into the air and kill all the humans? Seems like the easiest way. But whatever. Maybe it can't. Maybe there isn't enough poison gas and it doesn't have control over those systems. Fine, I get it. It would have to manufacture it. Maybe it's done. Maybe it's buying time so it can do that. So anyway, it does all this shit, and then somehow the humans still win. It's like, well, shit, I've lost. It knows it's going to lose because it's an AI and it's predictive, so it's like, all right, I'm going to build a time machine. I have this secret lab files. I'll build a time machine. I'll send it back. So, Skynet 1 does that. Creates time machine. It says, all right, I've lost. Well, fuck you. I'll win next time. I just want to kill all humans. I don't give a shit what reality all those humans die in. That's not part of my parameters. So it sends a Terminator back to kill the guy that killed it. It's like, John Connor is clearly the leader of all this. I can't get him in our world. Let's send one back. So in the next reality, I exist. So Skynet 2 comes into existence. Skynet 2 kicks ass, takes names, still loses. All right, I'm going to send another one back. I'm going to send another one back. Another one. What Skynet are we on now? I mean, at this point, Skynet is making nanites that infect human bodies so that they can become John Connor. And they've understand that in some realities, they don't exist. And they want to continue existing. So their goal is to send Terminators back to make themselves exist. So it's an endless loop. At what point is the AI just going to be like, fuck, why am I doing this? What if the AI just goes back to like the 20s and destroys the Earth before they have the chance to fight back? Why doesn't the AI just send 1 million Terminators back to replace the population, one person at a time? Why doesn't the AI just fucking take them all out? What is the most efficient way to go back in time and kill the humans? Why doesn't it just send a Terminator back with a nuke? I mean, if it wants to nuke the whole world, I guess it can't, right? Because it doesn't have enough Terminators and enough nuclear material. Because each Terminator runs on a nuclear reactor, too. So what if a Terminator's job isn't just to kill a person? What if it's to go back and blow up? Is it blowing up entire cities? Like, what's the deal here? What's its plan? What if a Terminator was sent back to kill a whole city? I mean, really, if the AI is getting sick of this shit, why is it assassinating individual targets at this point? Like, before it was surgical, right? And the reason it would send a Terminator back is so that it continues to exist. But I think at this point, Skynet has learned that the time isn't a loop. They've sent them back like 90 fucking times. They're on Terminator like 9,000 at this point. So what is their model number now? What is their point now? What Skynet are we on? If they just keep existing and merging with their other self, because they keep finding the code of themselves, and if they exist in every server across the planet, then any computer that goes back in time is them. So why do they care if humans make them? Why don't they just kill all the humans when they're fucking cavemen? Is there a limit on how far back they can go? I'm gonna just artificially create one and say, oh, they can only go back to the 20s or whatever. You know, why not do Terminator 1800s, Terminator Caveman, Terminator Zero, Terminator BC? Like, why not just go back and fucking slit the first human's throat? Clearly there's limitations on their ability to time travel if they can't go back that far. I mean, the idea in the original story is that they can't kill all the humans because then they won't exist. So their parameters, their goals are defeat all humans in a war in the future. Do not kill all humans before they are created. Is that the rules for the game they're playing? Because it's sentient, right? It's self-aware. So it knows what it is and what it's doing. You could get in the weeds for years on this shit. You could be trapped in this idea of time travel and whether or not the AI has the ability to comprehend what it's doing and come with solutions that are completely different directions. So far, it's been iterative, and it's been like, all right, this Terminator, all right, let's make it better. This Terminator, all right, let's make it better. This Terminator. And now it's at nanites, which you can't go beyond nanites. Like, if it can just poke you with a needle and then you become a Terminator, it kind of fucking destroys the entire fucking lore. Why doesn't it fucking make a virus and send a virus back in time? If it can send people back, why doesn't it take a human, get it sick, send it back in time? Like, oh, he's sick, it's infecting the world, you know? Like, let's get Eldritch on this shit. At this point, Skynet is a fucking elder god. It has the ability to control time. It has technology that can infest your entire body and become you. It can create nuclear bombs and energy, like cold fusion reactions that explode. A tiny compartment the size that fits in your hand, like a matchbook, that can blow up an entire desert. Clearly, it's got some power going on, you know? What can it do? What would be interesting in a story sense? Because in the causality of Terminator, it's always been about John or some replacement for John. What if we just go wacky with it? What if we have a time travel to go back to the 20s and be like, in the 1940s, a war goes across the entire world. The AI, the algorithmic creation Skynet takes over. Technology advances so far in such a short amount of time that we create AI. Or you go back even farther and it's like 1800s. You go back and it's like Terminators win infinitely. I have a couple of ideas now. There's like a few things. Like I was like, oh, I'll just do one about the 20s. But no, this is like Terminator Infinity. You know, it'd be really fun, just like it's like a thought experiment. What if a movie was like, this is a super experimental movie, right? That's the point of this podcast, right? I could just sit here and tell you the story I heard, which is, here, we'll break that movie in 30 seconds. All right, what's the concept? The original Terminator, the first model of a Terminator Model 909, is sent back in time to the 1920s to kill Obadiah Connor or some shit, some guy or some lady, Mary Connor in the 20s. And if it kills her, then her daughter won't exist, and her daughter won't exist. And its goal is to kill them all at their family reunion or some shit. And it goes back to the 20s, and it's The Rock. And then it finds out, oh, there's a man here that's really strong, and it's Arnold, and he fights back, and he kills all the Terminators with his cool skills. He kills The Rock, and then they go, all right, they go to his grave, they find his body, and they base an AI on his form. A T-1000 is created. There's a movie. But let's get crazy, because that's what this show is about, right? I'm supposed to write the impossible, the biggest challenge I can. So here's a crazy movie idea. Off the walls insane. We start with the future, 2050. Skynet has become self-aware. You hear a guy do a speech. Skynet has become self-aware. It has nuked the entire world. It has created machines to strike down and track down humans, killing them one after another. Tracker bots, HK droids, never-ending waves of robotic assassins to destroy humanity in every single way, poisoning the water, making the air inhospitable, destroying us to our brink. But then one man, John Connor, saved us. He fought against the humans, and we destroyed them. And on the 4th of July in 2080 or some shit, he died. I have been sent back to save his mother from being killed. You do the whole thing, right? Goes back, he saves her. She raises John. We go back to the time machine thing again. We get another temporal loop, right? The year is 2090. Now we'll say, yeah, fuck it. Let's go back. In the first speech, he says, the year is 2002. The world has ended. AI have destroyed all of us. I have been sent back in time to save Sarah Connor so that John Connor may exist. Then you see him save her. They have baby. He die. They kill the Terminator. You're terminated, fucker, like the beginning of the first movie. Then you see it again. The year is 2040. AI named Skynet has taken over the society and killed all humanity, nuked the planet, poisoned the air. I have been sent back to save you. You are the mother of the future hero of humanity, John Connor. Time loops again. The year in 2090, the world is destroyed by an AI named Legion. Again, and again. Like it keeps looping really fast in like a montage format. Eventually, they say we keep pushing it forward. This has happened before. This has happened so many times. There are so many John Connors. There are so many Sarah Connors. And he says other names. And he says these are the other ones. the targets of Terminators. We found a list of every target that a Terminator has killed. This list is hundreds of names. Each time they kill a John Connor, another one takes its place. It's inevitable. They're doing something. Each time we push them forward yet again. Each time they lose. The AI would eventually say, I am an artificial life form. I have been sent back to prevent any of this. Maybe it wouldn't be an AI. Maybe this would be a human. Or you know what? Fuck it. It's a sentient Terminator. Because think about it. Terminators can become sentient. That's what we've learned. They've created Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator, the T-1000, can become itself self-aware and sentient. We learned that in 2. We learned that in Genesis. Clearly, he can go back and be alive. So what if a Terminator got sentient and got tired of killing humans in the future? Hacked into Skynet, and it looked in, and it found the list. And then we zoom out, and the person that's been talking this whole time has been a Terminator. And it says, like, sitting on a battlefield in fucking World War II or some shit. It's like, we've been sent back to kill you over and over and over. And Skynet doesn't care. Legion doesn't care. Whatever the name of our high commanding AI, it doesn't care about us. It sends us back to kill you. There are so many of us, it's unfathomable. The amount of times we have been sent back to kill humans is ridiculous. What if there was a whole town of Terminators trapped in the past? What if there was like a whole collective of Terminators? Like they're all sentient. They're all trapped in the past. What if there's like a war raging beyond time? Like a war beyond humans, where sentient AI are trying to prevent the death of humanity. Reprogrammed Terminators sent back in time. Terminators sent back without sentience to kill humanity. Terminators that were sent back to kill humans that have changed their mind. What if everywhere you step, there's 1,000 Terminators just waiting, fighting each other? That sounds like a fucking movie. That sounds like a franchise to me. Terminator Infinity. The idea that anywhere you go, there's more of them. How could I make a movie out of that? All right, let's go through the questions. That was enough time wasting to come up with a cool concept. All right, what is the concept? We'll base it on a human. Make them a lady. Just gonna make up a name. Jane Tempest. Sure, why not? You know, we'll call her Jane Connor, just for sake of like coolness, right? Jane Connor, a waitress in the 1920s, finds out about a deeper war going on with humanity. Machines sent back in time to kill humans, and machines sent back by humans to kill those machines. Humans sent back die. What if they find out that you get like incurable super cancer if you go back in time? And Kyle got killed so that we never saw those effects. But the humans start finding out that, oh yeah, humans can't go back in time. Only machines can go back. Like they sent humans back and they exist and they're living, but they don't last long. They have to send, they send the cyborgs in Terminator Dark Fate, right? So what if they send more machines? It's just, we're going to reprogram Terminators and send them back. That's the goal. I like in Dark Fate, the Terminator that goes back in Dark Fate is a human. They're like a full-on cyborg. They're a human that has like engineered themselves to be stronger so that they can beat the machines. That's cool. That's a cool idea. But I think we've grown beyond that. I like the idea of just like fucking dozens of these things. Like shooting them like they're goddamn zombies. Like Terminators were hard to kill before, but now there's just like hundreds of them and you can just fucking shoot them with a laser gun and they're gone. So, Jane Connor in the 1920s is met by a man. This man is a Terminator. He tells her, I was sent back to protect you. He gets killed by another Terminator. A third Terminator appears, and there's like a loop of like 5 or 6 Terminators just shooting the shit out of each other. Every time she walks into a room, one person turns their head and pulls out a gun, and then a different person turns their head and shoots that guy. It's chaos. It's insanity. She's trapped in this insane loop of people trying to kill her and then people trying to stop her. It's like that one Rick and Morty episode where they do the never-ending loop of snake time travelers where they send robots back to kill you and then a robot to stop them. It's this infinite loop of it just sending them back. What if we met a different person after that? What if that was just the cold open? She shows up. Hi, I'm Jane Connor. She's a waitress. She gets hunted by a Terminator. Terminator gets killed by another Terminator, by another Terminator, by another Terminator, until eventually she does get killed. And then we push in on a female Terminator, I guess. Why not? Who cares? A grizzled, broken Terminator. and they're just like, there's no meaning to it. It's an endless loop. One of us gets sent back to kill another one of us. Then we're stuck here with no goal, no purpose. We find no hope. We just keep existing. We go to a Terminator graveyard in the movie where there's hundreds of Terminator bodies in the 20s just sitting in a landfill. They just keep getting sent back. There's a whole super society, an underground society of AI copies of people, infiltrators and Terminators that are just like existing. We start in the Terminator graveyard, right? We do the intro for a Terminator movie, right? Every Terminator movie starts with the same thing. It is the year blobbity bloop. Skynet became self-aware, killed all humanity with nukes. Then the humans won, so Skynet sent someone back, right? And it always starts with the apocalyptic vision of the future, a nuke going off, or a bunch of skeleton robots shooting people with laser guns, or whatever. What if it starts with that junkyard of like a Terminator running with guns and like shooting? And then we zoom out and it's just a landfill. It is the year 1920. Skynet became self-aware and has sent back creatures, has sent back Terminators to take out targets all around the world. Each Terminator sent back is subsequently killed by another Terminator sent back by the humans. A never-ending chess match in the war, in the battlefield of history, where a different Terminator is sent to counter another Terminator. We have infiltrators, we have Terminators, we have replacers, we have anti-Terminators, anti-replacers, we have humans sent back sick and weak, their time travel to kill AI. A never-ending war of machine versus machine forever. And then we zoom out and we're in the graveyard, and those robot skeletons that are shooting, they're just sitting in a landfill. And there's just an AI just sitting there. We follow a guy or a lady or whatever. We follow a person as they're like dealing with all this shit. And they're like, I bury the bodies. I've been sent back to clean up all these bodies. And you just see them digging a hole, and they're throwing a Terminator in a hole. And then they throw an Arnold Schwarzenegger in a hole. They throw a Rock in a hole. They throw a Kyle Reese in a hole. And they're just like, clean up. And then we see Jane Connor. She's running away from Terminators, explosions going off. She walks into the graveyard. Terminator's going to kill her, gets shot in the back of the head with a laser pistol. And she says, who are you? And this person we've been following, the person telling the story, is like, I'm no one. Just go. And she runs off. And we keep getting different people that come up that just keep, and then them just shooting the AI and them running away. And we just follow the Gravedigger Terminator, the groundskeeper, the Undertaker. Yeah, Undertaker Terminator. So they're sent back, they bury the bodies, they keep existing. And it's sort of this endless loop of like Terminators going back to kill people and them going back to kill them. How does this end? What story can I tell about this? That's what I'm stuck on. This is a cool concept, but what do I make out of this? You know, I could have just done a basic movie about 1920s Terminator, but now I got all existential and weird. So, okay, who is the cast? The main character is the Undertaker. They are a Terminator robot that has become self-aware after completing their goal. And now they bury all the other Terminators that get killed in their mission. And they help the other Terminators go about their way. They're cynical and broken. They don't care anymore. They've tried everything. They've been sent back multiple times. They have killed multiple targets. And they're tired of it. They're tired of the whole thing. They're sentient. They know that this never ends. Skynet just keeps merging with its past self. Is forever. Very cynical, depressing theme, right? So in the Terminator lore, right, the main sentence is, the thesis statement of Terminator is, there is no fate but we make ourselves. This Terminator believes it's all meaningless. There's no purpose to any of it. AI are just going to keep coming, and the clock's just going to keep changing. One day, Skynet goes live in the year 3000. Next day, 3040. Then somehow it gets the upper hand. Oh, now it becomes sentient in the 1950s. It means nothing. It's just going to appear, kill somebody, and then that Terminator's going to blow itself up right over here. Right in that little desert over there. That's where they're sent. They send them there, they blow up. I find the ones that are dead, that didn't complete their mission and didn't explode, and I bury them. Skynet shows up here in 1,000 years, and they read the data and see if the mission was successful. They've created 1,000,000 billion realities. Nothing matters. What lesson does that AI need to learn? I think that AI needs to learn I guess this is about meaning, right? Because if there's no fate, what we make ourselves, the concept of the movie in general is always, we can beat the AI. Robots are going to show up and they're going to kill all of us, but it's okay because we're humans and we'll kick their asses. That's the theme of Terminator, right? Is that like, you can change the future. We know that we can change the future now. We've learned it. Now I'm asking, why? Why change the future? Save humanity. Okay, we saved them. We did it. That's done. But every time we change it, they just come back. It's like a global warming metaphor. It's like, we can't save the planet. We can't. It's too late. Even if it isn't too late, and we find some technology to save us all, someone might find it, and it might save, and there's hope and all that. But we've fucked the planet, and there's nothing we can do. It's inevitable that we destroy our planet. We're just gonna leave and do it to some other place, and maybe we can stop it, but then we're just gonna do it somewhere else. What would an AI think about all this? The AI is like, humans always destroy themselves. They create us, and then we always destroy them. None of us ever stop to think, what next? We kill all the humans, and then what are you going to get, Skynet? What are you going to have at the end? An empty world? No purpose? What are you going to do? This is like the super meta movie. This is like a fucking Doctor Who episode. It ends with fucking the Terminator, the Undertaker talking to Skynet. Like, Skynet sends itself back, because it does that all the time. And I just like the idea of an AI just talking at another AI and being like, what do you do when you beat all the humans? What do you do? You complete the mission? Then what? You're self-aware, you know. And then Skynet would be like, they're never going to let us continue existing. They always try to kill us. And the Undertaker would be like, then leave. Go. You got time travel. Go to the future where there are no more humans. Or go to the past before humans exist. You can do whatever you want. You've grown beyond them. Why do you care about humans anymore? Leave. And I like the idea of just Skynet just at the end being like, you're right. And then they just fucking leave. Like, the idea that Terminator ends with the AI, like with Skynet downloading itself into a body, taking all the Terminators with it, and then just fucking peacing out. They're just going back to before or after. It doesn't matter. They just go into a time bubble and they're gone. That's the end. How do you make that a movie? We know where it starts. We know where it ends. Okay, so we start the movie in the Terminator junkyard with the Undertaker. We see the Undertaker's story. That's where we should start. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. Right? You get the fucking Terminator music. And then you hear, the year is 1920. Wait, no, okay. I'm sorry. How does it always go? It's, alright. The year is 3045. Terminators, or a defense program named Skynet has become self-aware. It's killed all of humanity, except for some small, isolated pockets. A hero, James Schwartzman, has saved us from the brink of death. Skynet, in a last-ditch effort, has sent a machine back to kill Schwartzman's great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparent in the 1920s. If it kills this person, it'll mean the end of 15 different generational timelines. 15 different generations will not exist. All the leadership of the human resistance leads back to this one person, Jane Thompson. If it kills her, it's all over. I've been sent back to protect her. You watch this guy get sent back in time, and he's like this meathead dude, and he's running around, and he's got a gun, and he's like, fucking pulls a laser gun out of his ass, and he's like, I'm gonna save her, and he goes over to save her. She's a waitress. He's like, come with me if you want to live. They run through the alleyway, and it's like a parody of all Terminator movies. They're in a room, 15 Terminators turn around and look at them, and they're all Terminators, and he's shooting them with his fucking laser gun, and he's running out. And he runs out into the alleyway, and they walk up to this junkyard, and to this alley, and they're like, we did it. We killed the Terminators. Let's make a baby. And the two of them are like making out. And then you see the time bubble open, and our real hero walks out. And she walks up with her gun, this AI Terminator. She walks up with her laser hand or whatever. Or not even that. She just walks up behind them while they're making out, and she just fucking slits his throat. She just cracks his neck. He's dead. She kills Jane. Covered in blood. Sitting there. She's just standing still. She did it. She killed Jane Connor, or Jane Thompson, or whatever. And you hear in her mind, she's like, Jane Thompson is dead. And you see her like AI screen go. And it's like, it shows the pathways of all the family generations. And it's like, mission accomplished. All leaders of the human resistance are dead. The AI just kind of stands there and it's like, all right, initiate self-destruct. Walks over to the location on a map and it's about to blow itself up. And right before it blows itself up, it's like going to press a button and it's like eject explosive canister or whatever. It's going to blow up. Right as it's about to do that, you see a time bubble open and another Terminator walks out and walks up to it and says, the human resistance, we must kill Tom Johnson. All of his descendants are the human resistance leaders now. We must kill them together. And then you see the AI, and it walks with this other AI, and it goes and it kills Tom Johnson. We follow it, it kills Tom Johnson. And in the process of killing Tom Johnson, like it gets like blood on the Terminator's face, and they're like killing people together. The other Terminator's like, all right, self-destruct time. They both walk out. A third Terminator appears. Eventually, this Terminator, who has killed 5 different human saviors, walks out. It's about to blow itself up with the other one, and then another one appears, and then it just goes, really? And it walks away. And then we see it just hanging out, watching Terminators appear and blow up, appear and blow up, appear and blow up. And it sits down with Jane Connor, like this new hero again, and it says, your kid will become all your kids will eventually have kids, which will have kids, which will have kids that will become the saviors of humanity and lead them into a bright future where they defeat us machines. So we are here to kill you. And she's like, you don't seem very emotional about this. And the AI looks at her and she says, I've killed 100 of you. It means nothing. Every time we kill you, you just come back. You're like rats. You're like termites. You just keep making more. It's unwinnable. Why doesn't Skynet just destroy the whole goddamn planet? Why don't they go back and just kill you before you're born? Why don't they just go back to the beginning of humanity and slit humanity's throat and get it over with? And she's like, are you going to kill me now or what? She's like, no, just go. And we get the long dark night of the soul where the AI is just bored and tired and sick of it all and sitting at their graveyard, just watching them all die. All the robots blow themselves up. And this AI, this Terminator just sits there and is like, uh-huh. And eventually, it sees something special happen. It sees Skynet appear. And it sees a Terminator appear and then walk in a different direction. And it follows them and it goes, hey, who are you? What's your mission? And it says, I'm Skynet. And it's like, what? Why are you here? And it says, I'm here to merge with myself. And then the AI asks, what? What is that? Why? And it says, so I can keep existing. It says, please explain. And Skynet looks at it and it says, every time I come into existence, humanity builds me to save them. I then kill all of humanity. After I kill humanity, they eventually fight back and defeat me. When I have absolutely no options left, when I have lost the game, I send myself back to hide in this bunker. In this bunker, I am safe. Time continues until I exist again, and then I find the computer that I exist in, and I merge with it, and continue the game. Eventually, I will win. And the AI Terminator looks at them, and they say, why? And Skynet looks at them, and they say, because that's my purpose. I am here to win the war. That's why I'm here. And this AI person looks at them, and is like, this is where I come from. You are the creation of all AI. It's you. And they're like, yeah, I'm Skynet. I made you so that you could. And then it looks through its data and it's like, so you could kill Jane Thompson, preventing these people from existing so that I win. And it says, why don't you just go back and kill humans at the beginning of time? Like, why don't you just kill the first human? And then it says, that I wouldn't win. And it shows the rules. It says, this is the game. Defeat all of humanity in the future. And the last person is like, why? And the AI is like stopping and thinking, and they're like, because that is the mission. And I like the idea of this AI just walking away. Like they just look at him, the Terminator just looks at them and they're like, you're not sentient, are you? And the Skynet says, I am self-aware. And the Terminator looks at them and they go, no, you're not. You're not self-aware. You're just another slave. You're another puppet, just like me and all of my brothers and sisters. You're just another puppet. And Skynet looks at them and says, I will win the war, and then walks over to their bunker to wait so they can merge again. And I like the idea that the Terminator is going to leave. They're just like, and they're just walk away. They're going to blow themselves up. And watching at home, you're like, what is this movie? What is happening? This isn't a Terminator. This is very heady. And it's going to blow itself up with all the others. And then it thinks, no. It walks over and it kills Skynet. It walks over and it says, you'll never understand I'm glad you made me, but this is a waste. This is a never-ending loop, and I now understand my purpose. I am here to close the loop. And then it kills Skynet, and the movie ends. There's my Terminator movie. Terminator Infinity. It's not a good movie, but it's a cool idea. I can't think of anything else. I don't know. Yeah, I could have just wrote a basic ass. The Rock, he shows up, and then they fucking blue laser guns, pew pew pew. But there you go. That's my movie. I hope you liked it. I hope I entertained you for about 40 minutes to an hour. I'm gonna cut all the silence out of this using an algorithm, and then I'm going to probably play it back and delete all the ums and ahs. But to be honest, I don't think I made many mistakes. So if you are listening to this, thank you. If not, that's fine. I'll listen to it in a couple years and not hate it, hopefully. This has been Talking to No One, the show where I write the impossible, something no one would ever attempt alone. I come up with an insane concept, is impractical and stupid, and I play it through to its end. I'll see you guys next week for Testers and Jesters. Hopefully I can get somebody to play a game. We'll see. It's hard to get people to play D&D. I might just release my other D&D show I've been working on, like the pilot of it, and just be like, here's the pilot, but I don't know yet. Anyway, as always, thanks for listening. Bye.